Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. Those of you who've seen my vaguely recent video, Trains, Drains and Waterways, might recognise this weir and this stream from the tail end of that video. If not, no worries, pretty much everyone should at least recognise the sky. Unless of course you're outside of it, and perhaps watching Earth videos from elsewhere. Do let me know if that describes you. I'd like that. Anyway, today I'm going that way, upstream. I'm starting off in a park in a small West Yorkshire village called Oxenhope. As far as I can find out, that name is quite young, only adopted after the railway came in 1867. The station name became the village name. It wasn't really a village before that. It was several smaller hamlets and mill communities in close proximity to each other. Piece of clay pipe stem. Anyway, the undeniable beauty of this place isn't going to carry on for the whole of the video. I'm going to traverse a variety of landscapes, some of which are probably quite grotty in comparison, looking for anything old, interesting, useful, recyclable, doing a bit of trash picking as I go, and just enjoying being out in the river and by the river on a beautiful spring day. This first portion is, I think, the only quite deep part I'll face, and going around it is a lot easier than wearing waders the whole way. This straight bit isn't great for finding things anyway. I'm sure there are interesting things in it, but the simple gentle flow allows algae to build up over everything. The only things still visible are rocks and rust. That's enough talking for now. Welly's on. Let's go for a wade. Little low pressure spot behind a rock, good place to find things. Piece of a tile, I think. Nice colour, reminds me of my grandparents' bathroom when they lived in a large old farmhouse. And bit of a stoneware, probably ginger beer bottle. That is big lump of concrete with a bit of rough wall attached. The former corner of somebody's garden maybe. Looks far too rough to be a house foundation. Anyway, plastic. I see this kind of thing a lot. Carrot in the water, and I never quite know why it was thrown in. Was it because this carrot was too bendy? Or was it a gift of a fish, or an offering to any presiding spirit of this place? Anyone have any other ideas? Another piece of plastic, this time the familiar wrapper from a 4-pack of Heinz baked beans in tomato sauce. Can't see anything else on this narrow dry bit, but in the water, big, chunky iron. I'm unsure what this is, not quite a wheel. It's got protuberances that would stop it rolling. And it's got some wording, might be worth a closer look. something Eden at the bottom, and I can't quite make out what it says around the top. Bit of a mystery really. Any ideas? I do think it's likely to be a part of mill machinery, but it is too heavy to carry into today's outing, so I'll leave it here and maybe collect it another day. Could be an interesting candidate for my new electrolysis setup. The first time I came to this particular beach was in the bleak midwinter, when I wasn't allowed to properly mudlark or riverwalk because of pandemic restrictions, and I found, embedded between some rocks, a nice inch-thick cobalt blue glass rod, of the same sort that I found elsewhere, which the consensus of opinion has led me to believe was probably part of the cottage industry of bead making, and I left it here. It wasn't particularly that I wasn't legally allowed to mudlark. I did naughtily take some copper and brass I found. It's that my friend Caroline of Let's Go With the Johnsons really wants to find one, so I left it, in the hope that it would be easily findable when Caroline and Phil could visit West Yorkshire safely again. But the tail end of the winter brought storms, and it's gone now. I know not if it's still here and buried, or borne away in the torrent. Nothing especially special here today. Too much plastic, some chunks of cast iron, a few bits of blue and white pottery, one of which I like, and a dense coil of copper which was probably once a heating element. So onwards, through the tunnel under the bridge, which carries a road built in 1755, so the bridge might be that old too. And sad to say I've forgotten my head torch, so I won't find much under there, and I won't be able to look deeper into the tunnel that's a bit further on. Not today anyway. There is at least light enough to see where to put my feet. Crowbar. That iron in the water is an old fire grate, and over here, a vintage bicycle seat, or at least the frame of one, the rest having rotted away. Here is where I found the brass top part of an old car radiator. It does make me wonder if perhaps, a long time ago, a car went off a bridge here, but more likely to have washed down from a bridge upstream, or even from the reservoir. I searched this beach the last time I was here, so I won't film, but I will search it again with eyes and a pinpointer. There's the thing I thought was a mill outflow tunnel that I can't really explore today. Not so sure about that after research didn't turn up an appropriate mill. Cast iron, possibly a bracket from an old mill or part of a huge clamp, and I think this one was likely a hinge on a really big door, probably also from a mill. And also found a bit of very thin copper wire, which was by eye. The pinpointer can't detect such unsubstantial things. So, last time, I assumed that this was an outflow channel from a mill, and it certainly looks like others I've seen from the Victorian era, that maps as far back as 1885 do show a mill, but up the hill and not in the direction that this flows. That doesn't mean it's not from a mill, but it could be something else. A really fancy culvert, perhaps. There might be more to see on the hillside, and I think I will have a wander in the woods, see if I can figure it out. There's a manhole cover, and it's kinda on that line, I think. Over this side there's a flat area which could conceivably have been a mill pond at one time, but I don't see anything to convince me of that. And there's this, a water pipe. Not particularly surprising, as there's a water company sign on a gate nearby, but I think that it being right here might suggest that the tunnel is where a pipe, or pipes from up on the hill, drains out, and that would maybe have been from the mill, or maybe from the houses that are there now. There's certainly a lot of iron oxide in the water coming out, suggestive of cast iron pipework, and that still does suggest mills to me. I wouldn't be surprised if there are several old mills on this stream that the maps missed, or were long gone by the time of the 1885 map I've seen. Houses just a short way above, and down a bit, another manhole cover. So that tells me there's two tunnels at right angles, and they meet about 7 meters into the darkness that I stared into. I think I would like to come back with a torch, maybe waders too. Would have to crawl in if the torch revealed anything worth taking a closer look at. Back to the river, the beach, and the exploration I can do today. Base of an egg cup, exactly the same as many that come out of 1930s dump sites. Something roundish there. Lid of a paint can, but it's made of lead, or a lead alloy. It's very heavy. Steel fencing wire, and an old battery. Not something that should be left in the river system. I'll take it and put it in with my other batteries that are heading towards being recycled, after checking that it's basically the same materials. Some wire filled with copper, deeply buried though. I shall take what I can of it, hopefully all of it, which will need both hands at least, and possibly more wire snips too. It's very full of old things to find, this tiny beach, mostly bricks and concrete, but not really much stuff that I want. I wonder if there's a few local mudlarks who come here. There's certainly evidence of one downstream, and it's a very fast-growing hobby. I didn't see much evidence of any others in the first year of filming, but now I see evidence of mudlarkers and beachcombers in almost every stream I visit. Oh look, another carrot. Actually, 2 carrots. Cast iron. I'm pretty sure it was either part of a fire setup or part of a drain system. Neither make this something historically significant, and I don't think I have any project that would benefit from me taking it home. Plastic. This looks like homeowner direct action, and I think it's actually going to be pretty effective at dispersing or redirecting the energy of raging water and preventing the fairly ancient walls bordering their gardens from being undermined, toppled and taken. It does mean, of course, that storm waters have started taking chunks out of the other bank instead. I don't think there will be much effect downstream, certainly no more so than was caused by the walls being built in the first place. A nice brick, some ironwork, and down in the water, not very exciting, half a pair of scissors. One of many oddities of the English language. It is half of a plurality, and yet there is no word for it as the singular. It has neither purpose nor proper name without its counterpart. There be ducks ahead, a pair of mallards. I don't wish to distress them, and I'm certainly no threat to them, but they don't know that. So they'll keep moving away as long as I move this way. This looks like somebody likes them, and has built steps and a little feeding platform to make their lives a little easier. I would probably like whoever lives here. I found a little metal patch and I can't figure out why it's here. It's not quite a corner, just a little bend. The low pressure spot here is on the other side of the stream, but down at the water's edge I found this brass thing, not sure what. There's also a tiny bit of copper tubing, and the thing that drew me to this spot was some wire in amongst the rocks. There's probably more. Still got a lot to learn about all the conditions that dictate where a stream will drop things. There's always more to learn. Bit of pipe stem and a tiny bit of a bowl. Bit of plastic drain pipe there. I'll get it on my way back down this beach. Always two passes on a beach like this, along the waterline looking up and along the top looking down. Vaguely interesting piece of cast iron. Reveals no further interest on closer inspection. A few metal finds here. Okay. First things first. The brass thing, I think, is the surround for an old car window. I found them like this before. And the second thing is a very old and quite corroded fireplace poker. A piece of iron I think I will take, on the off chance that I fancy hammering it out flat into, say, a knife or short sword. Just as making things and learning skills sort of a project, rather than having any deep affinity for weaponry. Piece of a tile. Would have been beautiful when whole, part of a larger pattern. I think I'm going to leave it. Ooh, now there's a bit of plastic that I'm happy to take. I never seem to have enough clothes pegs. Vulcanized bottle stopper, still in the neck of a bottle. Just a simple pattern one, no branding and damaged, but makes a river walk feel a bit like mudlarking. Gradually, the natural stream bed is giving way to mill workings. That opening at the bottom of the wall there, I guess, is an outflow from the way it's angled, which goes some way to confirming my suspicion that the new build houses a bit further up might stand on an old mill site. The old map does not show one there, but river workings do suggest it, and if there was a mill there, gone by the 1885 map, it could well have been the site of an early 20th century dump site too. All ifs and maybes so far. Would be good to find the source of all the pottery pieces and things in this river though, so I hope I'm wrong. Anything worth finding would be well buried or removed if it was beneath a newish housing estate. Spotted some metal. Rusty iron, curly, part of a bracket or gate or fence. And some brass, which is firmly embedded. You can see what it is though, not much interest beyond the myriad possibilities of what it could become with a little effort and a forge. Oh well, there'll be more. This looks worth a look. It's part of a planter. Reasonably nice example of such a shard, but has anyone ever come up with a project for something like this? Well into mill territory now, slippery cobblestones, and every step must be careful. The cobbles also act a bit like a riffle, so if there was gold in this stream, the cracks between would be a good place to look. The only gold Yorkshire's really good for, though, is Olympic. A few pieces of pottery here. A base plate for a planter would have made a nice base for making a bird bath if it was whole, but wouldn't be in the river if it was. Well, it's a vase and it's whole, so it's got that going for it. Certainly looks handmade, and I don't hate it, but I'm a ways off actually liking it. I will take it and clean it and defer for now, deciding if I want to keep it or not. And the last thing looks to be a candlestick holder. IKEA style maybe, quite modern and only marginally broken, but I don't really like it or want it, so just the vase which I'm ambivalent about. Plastic. plastic and brass. A paint to separate when the screws are rusted, but crushing it in a vice sometimes works. And here we have a very large low pressure area with a pile of flotsam in the corner that looks like it might be a nest. If so, then it would probably be rats. Some nice blue and white. And some more. And vintage glass bottleneck, medicine bottle by the looks of it. In fact, there's quite a few pottery pieces here, nothing whole or very nice though. Some ridged pottery, part of a marmalade or jam jar. This bit feels quite modern, smooth concrete floor and the water spread very evenly over it, probably done around the same time as the housing development to ensure it doesn't easily get flooded. Lacks character though. This thing is older, brick-lined. Not sure what it is, but might have been an access point to a tunnel beneath, maybe related to a mill or maybe sewers. I wonder if in 100 years or so the aesthetic of this bridge might be considered beautiful. Right now what can be said of it is that it is wonderfully functional. My subconscious says I missed something. Craft knife, the second one I found in this stream. A bit solid with sediment, but might be cleanable, and if so, I have blades that will fit it. My craft room would struggle to have too many craft knives. Jar lid, vintage glass. I like finding these. No branding, no matter, I'll take it. And this bridge, I think, marks the furthest point of a housing development, so finding vintage things here means that if there's a dump site being washed out or dug out, it's further on, much further. There aren't any sites that it could be for quite a way. Oh wow, didn't think I'd be finding fossils here. They are in a lot of the streams around here, but this one is so built up and hemmed in, it's hard to imagine where a Carboniferous era Lepidodendron stigmaria fossil could wash in, and it certainly doesn't look like it's been tumbled around in the stream much. Excellent example, one of the best I've found. I'll take it. If I left it, it would be unrecognisable a few miles downstream. Piece of a cod bottle, elusive to those of us who explore and find old dump sites, but do not dig, and a little ink bottle, a little beat up, but still in one piece, and I do like ink pots and bottles, and I'll take it. Now this bridge is a bit more to my taste. It's not all that old, late 18th to early 19th century I think. But it's at least a bit interesting, from its unusual not quite full arch to the stalagmites forming along the edges, one of the walls lacking any mortar between the stones, and the weir, obviously, is a big plus. Oh, and the big iron pipe running beneath it. Can't help but wonder if anything still flows through it. Wouldn't recommend anyone who hasn't got good balance try that climb. It's covered in algae and slippery. Anyway, on my left there is a largely silted up mill pond, deep enough mud to disappear into, so I won't be walking that way. The main road through the village just up there. I saw this weir from a public bus once, heading to my second ever filmed mudlarking outing, and it's taken me 2 years to get around to seeing it up close and personal. So many streams and rivers, so little time. Strange little bottle, screw top, and such a narrow neck it's going to be hard to get that solidified lump of something out, but it's still kind of cute and small and light. Another weir, a bit less impressive, but still I haven't found a weir I don't like. The inflow for the mill pond, covered over with modern concrete. What is that? Sick duck? Angry little critter whose territory I've invaded? Ah, there it is, a little whirlpool swirling water and air down into the pipe. And pipe goes under my feet and keeps this pond topped up. I think the pond is about as deep as the algae-covered weir is tall. Last weir before one of the last surviving mill buildings here. It's a village that was born of mills, and now I don't think every bit of industry has left, but it's now largely a place people commute from to the places they work, and that mill building is now luxury apartments. This straight bit has nice ripples and reflections of the sky, but the river bottom is very lacking in interesting things to find. I think this is the final bridge for today. My exit point is some steps about 50 metres beyond. The acoustics are nice and echoey down here. I can hear the bounced around sounds of people walking and talking on the bridge above. A scooter, actually the best condition one I've seen in a stream, might actually be in usable condition. Bit small for me though. If this had been at the beginning of the walk, I'd have walked down this side and up again to make sure I didn't miss anything. At this point though, I'm stumbling tired. On the pavements, the distance covered could be walked easily in 10 minutes at a moderate walking speed. In the stream bed, I think I've taken 2.5 hours, shambling up, zigzagging in and out of the water, through the current, which pushes in the other direction, and I'm not quite as fit as I was pre-lockdown. By the end of the summer, I hope I will be again, and I'm aiming to have enough outings filmed that I can put them out regularly through any future lockdowns, whenever they may be. That weir and the section of stream beyond, which soon starts to slope increasingly steeply and reaches a reservoir within 500 metres following the curvy route of the stream, 300 metres by road, is a walk I'd like to do, particularly given the nice fossil I found today, and I do very much enjoy walking the edges of any large body of water, including small reservoirs. last video down by the train yard, I suggested the possibility of ending this video in an abandoned graveyard, and the light is pretty good at the moment, so why not? This is a Wesleyan Methodist graveyard, and is a graveyard of two parts. This part over here is well kept, weeded, and the grass trimmed periodically, in use for 101 years from 1807 to 1908, and the bit over the road, running because there's a car coming. This bit has no gate, no sign saying when it was used, and that is just about all I know about it, so this won't be a guided tour. We'll explore together, up the crooked path, lined with crooked stones, to a place of crooked gravestones, pushed about by straight young trees. Strange to see iron railing like that rusted through in several places when the grave it surrounds is only about 150 years old. (1874). This graveyard seems to have been used at the same time as the one across the road. I don't know why this one was allowed to fall back under the command of nature and that one wasn't. But I find more beauty in this one, more variety in the lichens and mosses and algae that grace the gravestones, from black to the lightest almost white-green to vibrant orange, and it looks much older for it. I do not particularly wish for a gravestone, or even a grave when I go, but I do enjoy haunting such places as this in life. There's a gentle quiet and calm here, even though I can still hear, just back across the road, two children playing noisily on a trampoline in their garden. (1879). Rest in peace, John Binns. Oh, Mary Ann Walton. The O was surprised at the date, 1909, which puts this outside of a date range given on the sign of the other burial ground gate, meaning that this one was used beyond when that one was shut up, so it's a little surprising that this is the one that's been abandoned. Oh, two gravestones belonging to one family, the Hay family. 1830, 1894, 1943, and 1972. And then this one, 1899, 1902, and 1914. I guess then that this graveyard wasn't abandoned until the 1970s, perhaps the 80s, or even the 90s. I wish I could see it again on a day like today, 100 years from now when the trees are mature. Perhaps by then I'll be able to see other ghosts. Roundup time. That was, as expected, quite a varied terrain, and a wade in the river is always fun for me, particularly on a nice spring day. Much more tiring than I was expecting though. Over the winter I scoped out the route, the entrance and exit points. I thought the 10-mile round trip to and from that little stream had kept my fitness up, but river walking uses different muscles, and my tiredness might have contributed to me not finding much of any interest in the latter part of the walk. I don't know if there was anything really to find, but I'm still convinced that there's a high likelihood of a dump site being washed out or dug out somewhere upstream. Even the last beach had quite a lot of pottery. The only nearby old dump site I can find on maps is up on the hills, a quarter of a mile away from the stream and any of its small tributaries, and well covered over by a farmer's field, so unlikely to be that one. I didn't bring much of a pottery home, most of it was fairly uninteresting. There were a few bits of pottery older in amongst it all, but there's only so many 17th century slipware bread rising bowl pieces I could ever really want, so a few bits of blue and white for crafting when I get around to it. I do eventually tend to get around to doing projects, it just takes me a long time. A nice coloured little tile, which I have no plans for, I just like the nostalgia that the colour gives me. The intact handmade vase, I don't really like it, but it has cleaned up well, and perhaps a charity shop might give it shelf space, and from there somebody who does like it might find it. I always like finding such things as vintage jar tops, small inkwells and strange bottles. Don't know if I'll keep them all. I have recently taken to taking some of the vast number of bottles I've brought home and leaving them in the derelict farmhouse that featured in my video titled A Trail of Two Houses. I enjoy visiting that ruin fairly often. It's one of the nicer ones within easy walking distance, and I enjoy seeing that the bottles I leave disappear. They're usually good condition ones that I've cleaned as best I can, but just have too many duplicates of. The knife and the peg cleaned up well, both will be useful. The ancient fossil I think I'll keep. I know some people prefer that such things be left in the environment, but these particular small and easily moved fossils degrade quite quickly over just a few miles of streambed tumbling. So it's a personal judgment, and I like seeing such old history grace my windowsill. I can't visualise what it would have been like when the giant tree fern-like plant that this was part of lived here, aphantasia being the condition I have, but I still like to imagine it when I look at fossils. Copper, brass, lead, and as ever too much plastic round out the finds. Nothing particularly worth saving in its current shape, so fuel for the forge. As ever, I have thanks to give. A big thank you to everyone who's liked, commented on and shared my videos. A huge thank you to the kind people who've gifted money through Ko-fi, which helps buy tools, materials, fuel to get places, and camera equipment to make better videos. As of the time of me making this video, there haven't been any purchases through either of my Amazon wish lists. I am making it much earlier than my usual schedule, as well as the next one, so that I can go and visit family in another part of the country for a few weeks. This made possible by the Pfizer vaccine and having had an excellent immune response to it. I hope most of you have had at least your first vaccine dose. It's very unlikely to contain a tracking device for a nefarious plot by Bill Gates, and my phone is already easily trackable. I even deliberately allow that so that my girlfriend knows where I am when I'm putting myself in mildly dangerous situations exploring rivers and dump sites. Anyway, what that means is that there won't be any show and thanks for Amazon purchases in this or the next video. They'll have to wait till the one after. And also my internet access might be limited where I'm going, so I might be even less able to answer very many comments. There is an extra thank you I want to do. Several people in the audience have, at one time or another, drawn or painted scenes from my videos. I give permission for anything that isn't particularly commercial. One-off pieces are fine, even if the intention is to sell them. Anyway, I've received a wonderful jiggly print of a coloured pencil drawing of a scene of a bridge, as seen from the perspective of my camera when I was wading towards it. It's lovely to see people's creativity, and to receive a copy that I can frame up and have on my wall is quite special, so thank you so much, Millie. I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, then any way you choose to show appreciation is very much appreciated. I hope you're looking after yourselves and loved ones as best you can. Thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.